Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Monday Motivation Spotlight. We haven't met up since the week of Shavuot. In fact, I missed you guys and you ladies last week. We're used to meeting live every single Monday. And of course, with Shavuot, that took a break because we were celebrating Shavuot. We've also had some challenging moments for Israel, and we've celebrated some wins. And that's the name of the game of our beautiful countries. We have some wins. We have sadly some losses, but we're a resilient nation and we keep going. This program, for those of you that are new, started as a result of the war. We thank also our co-hosts, Nardis Advisors, as well as Eggert & Cohen Insurance. And as a result of the war, our aim was to inspire and motivate every week. And at the same time, our aim was to give exposure to interesting individuals, business owners, as well as nonprofits. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. So what do we have for you today? We have a fabulous guest who I'm going to be sharing with you just in a moment. And our guest today is no stranger to many of you. Many of you actually have met her personally. So before I actually talk about it, I'm going to replace her spotlight with her, should I say. Hani, good morning. Hani Skutch.
Good morning.
Good morning, or good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're watching this from. Many of you will be watching the recording, and I'm so happy to have regulars as well as those that watch the recording, regulars live as well as regulars for the recording. So Hani, as you'll get to hear, is an American Israeli comedian. She's a cat lover, she's a coffee drinker, she's a purple-haired mom, she's a sister, wife, and she's a friend. And in her words, what started off as a fear of public speaking is now a nonstop kid and husband embarrassing stand-up career. She's humorous, she's personable, she interviews and she speaks with people from corporate to religious, non-religious in Israel, Europe, and abroad. She's also for 8 years been the featured act for Keep Olim in Israel, fundraising on an Israel Fundraising Tour. So Hani, welcome to the Monday Motivation Spotlight. I'm delighted to have you here. Please entertain us, share with us, inspire us, and also tell us what you've been doing, what brought you to Israel, how long you've been here, and anything that you would like to share with us.
Okay. Hi, good morning. And I'm so happy to be here, Lesley. Thank you. And wow, I think you motivation from me. I mean, I don't think my sister's here because hopefully she's sleeping. She lives in the States. Not that she doesn't think I'm worthy of motivating someone, but I think of I don't know. I'm thrilled to be here, and wow, thank you. So it's hard for me. I speak for a living, and yet here you are. You're giving me a half an hour to talk, and I'm like, whoa, what do I say? Because I feel like there are many areas. So I'll start with kind of the Israel thing. I grew up very secular, where Israel was kind of in a blue box to put coins in, and my mother, bought trees on occasion. We were members of the Reform Temple in town. And my parents always said it was important to give to Jewish charities before other charities. But otherwise, Judaism didn't play a big part in my life. And my parents had a big anniversary. My father had a big birthday. And my mom said, we're going to go on a trip to Israel. And I said, why would we go to Israel? Why? Like, there are so many. Let's go to Nantucket, which is in Massachusetts, for those of people who aren't from the States, a coastal, beautiful town. Or let's go to Paris. Why would we go to Israel? And my mother and father, who had traveled pretty extensively, said, no, we're going to go to Israel. And I landed here and thought, oh, this is not like Sunday school. These boys are much cuter than Mike and Tommy and Billy from back home, the Jewish boys back home. So I kind of fell in love with Israel, in part because of the boys, in part because of the smell and the sound. We arrived on a Friday and we went right to a hotel where there was a Friday afternoon wedding and a chuppah, and I burst into tears. And I think from really that moment, I kind of felt like I'm home in a different place than I had ever been before. So it took me a while. I met somebody and we got married. We had 2 kids. We bought a house, all kinds of things before we made Aliyah. We had a foreign exchange student from Croatia, and she was with us her senior year in high school, and she kept saying she wanted to move to America. And she inspired me very much. I kept thinking, she's 18, she knows what she wants, and she's willing to leave her culture, her language, her parents, her country for a better life in America. And I turned to my husband, David, same husband now than was back then, and said, we've talked about Israel, let's just go. And we put our house on the market, and we did not sell the house until we put two mezuzahs on. There were two doors, double garage doors, and we didn't have mezuzahs on the door to the garage. Whatever, we weren't perfect. And we put them on, and really the next day or 2 days later, we sold the house. So we came to Israel. David said, let's go for a year. We'll try it for a year. And we were very, very lucky, and came to Rehovot, which has a beautiful, wonderful, warm, inclusive community. So it was really the right place for us. And I met my best friend, my first Shabbat there. I was walking around, and she said, hi, I've been here 6 months. You look new. And I said, yes. And that was it. I sometimes say that she's my beshert, not really my husband. My husband kind of agrees with me. When he wants to learn something that's going on in the family, he calls her to find out, because she always knows. But, for many people who have moved to Israel, especially from the States, families are far away. And my family, I think a religious family is different, and they have Israel in their horizon, and they come to visit. My family, since they may listen to this, have been very supportive, and they really have. But they travel all over the world, but Israel, not so much. Although whenever I come to the States, they want to see me, they come to where I am or invite me to stay with them. So I certainly see my siblings, but being away from them is really hard. And there was one stint when things were going on, COVID and stuff with kids, that I didn't see my sister for 6 years. And that was, it was great on Zoom when Zoom existed, or WhatsApp. We talked all the time, but pretty hard not to, hug your sister. We're not even huggers, but, have coffee next to each other. So I'm lucky that I love my sister and my two sister-in-laws, in case they're listening also. And, but really I do. So that was how I got to Israel, how we got to Israel, and we stayed, and we just kept staying. And it's now been 28 years. My biggest sorrow is that I still don't speak Hebrew. And I'm trying to do something called radical acceptance, which is a psychological term. And I'm just trying to radically accept that I may never know Hebrew better than, how much is a hamburger. And I'm vegan, so I don't even order hamburgers. So that's
it. You're used to hearing your audience laugh, and our audience today is on mute. So you may be able to see them laugh, but if not, okay, you'll inspire yourself by knowing that you're actually entertaining us.
Thank you. Thank you. Sometimes people want to know how I started doing stand-up. Do I love stand-up? Do I love comedy? And no. Where am I from? In the States. Thank you, Amy. I am from, this is so exciting, like somebody's listening and caring. This is great. Lesley, if you need somebody next week, I'm available again. I'll come up with different stories. I grew up, I was born in St. Louis, Missouri. I grew up in Toledo, Ohio. I went to college in lots of places. I graduated from the University of Florida. I went to a boarding school in Connecticut, which was terrific, where I was one of just a few Jews. That was interesting. We'll do that next week. Okay, Lesley, we'll talk about that next week. I spent a lot of time in Maine, which was kind of the road not taken in my life. Had I not become religious and Aliyah, thinking I probably would be living in Maine or New Hampshire wearing a lot of flannel and hiking. I might not have been hiking. I might have been sitting around the fire eating s'mores or something. Vegan, probably. Anyway, so that's where I'm from, if you got that. Oh, Zahava, you're listening. Oh, honey, we're listening. Thank you. Thank you. It's unusual to be speaking and have people listen. Sometimes, my kids are like, Mom, do you ever shut up? And then I try for like a minute or two. And then, sometimes my daughter, she's very funny. She'll say, okay, Mom, it's my turn to talk and you just listen. And I'll, okay. And she'll say, okay, promise you won't say anything. You'll just listen. And I'm like, yes. And then she doesn't say anything. She's just quiet. She just wants me to be quiet. It's terrible. I don't do it for very long. So one of the problems of being Hani Skutch is that I have a memory the size of something that doesn't have a big memory. So I was starting to talk about, why I started in comedy. So I did not like comedy. I did not like stand-up. I did not like Saturday Night Live. I didn't watch comedy. I was funny. I would make the kids in school, even Billy and Tommy and Michael, I made them laugh, and even some of the girls. But I didn't really get comedy or like comedy. But I had this kind of mini traumatic, I'd say, like enough to talk about, but not super traumatic experience in college in a public speaking class. And after that, I really couldn't speak if I was at a work meeting. I worked at Hillel in Philadelphia. I forgot to mention Philadelphia. And if I had a meeting of just like 4 coworkers, great. If it was 5 or more, I really had such a hard time speaking. So when I was in Israel for a while, I saw that David Kalimnik, who some of you might know, was running a course on, how to be a comedian or just look like one. I think he called it something different, but that was basically the idea. So I signed up for the class. It was in Jerusalem. We met, I think, 3 or 4 times, and the last class was a performance. So I gathered my best buddies. I was shaking so hard. We were sitting there, and I felt that God was my co-pilot. God was right there with me. And I was saying things that I hadn't planned to say. In addition to my jokes, just things were coming out of my mouth and people were laughing. And then that inspired me to say something else that was, I guess, funny. And it was wonderful. And then at some point I said, I think I'm getting the light. And I thought, I don't even know about a light. There was no light. And I don't even know, how did I know about a light? And I just felt like that was God just, saying, I'm doing this with you. And I had such a good time. And I thought I was wonderful. And I spent the next day just sort of floating around in my house in my pajamas, wondering why Johnny Carson hadn't called, why he hadn't heard how amazing I was. And, from up there. But still, I felt somebody should have called and told me they wanted me on primetime TV. No one did. But I kept doing it. And I've taken some long periods where I didn't perform. And it hasn't been a straight road in terms of my growth. It's hard, and I love it. I love it, and it's fun. And speaking to an audience and they get you is magic. It's nothing short of magic. And I do still feel very much that God is with me, that we're doing this together. That I was one of those kids in school who didn't always do my homework or study for the test. And I used to just hope I would wake up in the morning and all the answers would be there. It never happened in school, but I think it did happen with comedy, that I just stood on that stage and I became a comedian. So that was really cool. And I speak a lot about my mom. My mom and I had a very, very close and loving relationship, but she was a wee tad critical, which she knew, and that caused struggles for me. So she's no longer alive, but I do tell a lot of jokes about her, and people sometimes are thinking, you're your mother. And well, did you hear what I said about my husband? I mean, he's still alive for now. And so, but my mother was totally cool. She loved it that I talked about her. And really one of my best performances was at her funeral. And I didn't mean it really to be a performance, but I was just telling all the stories, and people came up to me afterwards and said, this is the funniest funeral I've ever been to. And then I kind of felt bad, like, maybe it should have been heartwarming or, emotional or something. But okay, I'll take funny. I'll take funny. So I now, as you maybe can see, I don't have a problem speaking in public anymore, which is super, super good. I'll be quiet, Lesley, for a question.
No, you're not meant to be quiet. You're meant to keep going. That's great.
Okay. So really no question. Okay, so difficulties in life, I guess I have a few. That sounds like a poem, doesn't it? But I'm hard of hearing. I've been hard of hearing forever, but I'm also hard of remembering. Sometimes it's hard to know which one is it. But I did not want to get hearing aids. I felt I was way too young, and I worked in high tech, and I didn't want to be, I was already the oldest person there, and probably the saddest person there, and I might have also been the funniest, but I didn't want to get hearing aids. And someone in our community, an older woman, said, "Honey, get over yourself, go get hearing aids." And so this is my announcement to anyone whose hearing is not what they'd like it to be. Go get hearing aids. Stop being so vain and grow your hair. And anyway, they're little, at least the ones I have, and behind my ears. But it's my favorite part of the day now is putting my hearing aids in. And, the kids used to really complain that I couldn't hear them. And it's wonderful because the hearing aids attached to my phone with Bluetooth. So, I can hear music without disrupting the whole house, and I can listen to podcasts, like yours, Lesley, and Spotify and stuff. So sometimes, the kids complain that, now they still can't hear me. I still can't hear them because I'm listening to something else, but I feel like I'm getting so educated. I'm learning so much in the world. And, but really hearing aids are they're the thing. They are the thing. So if you think you need them, and also they told me that you should get them when you are as young as possible. As soon as you need them, get them, because the older you get, your brain doesn't connect to them. Your brain doesn't, I don't know the word. Is there a doctor in the house? But the brain doesn't, whatever that word is, do it so well. But when I got my hearing aids, and I said, "Can I sleep in them?" And the woman said no. And she also knew that that I was married, and you love my hair color. Thank you. I just did it this morning. I love to repurp. It's like the best thing in the world. And to be purple. I go swimming, so there's like purple and blue kind of behind me in the lane, and every week I get my gray comes out. But I love the purple, and I really feel that life is too short not to have purple hair. I started coloring it purple when I got diagnosed with cancer, and this was just a weeny teeny little cancer cell. I think they found one. I don't think it ever grew to two. It was a very bad mutant, but it was taken care of, and I now am totally cancer-free, still purple, and I'm so cancer-free that I can donate blood every 3 months, which makes me super happy. And I say that really, I love donating blood. First of all, it's a pound. It's just an instant pound. I can eat whatever I want, and it's still a pound. So that's pretty awesome. And second of all, it's a good deed, and I love that. But I say that my blood type is also my motto, which isn't really anymore. But my blood type is B positive. So if you ever need a hookup, come, bring a needle and we can do it. But so when I was getting my hearing aids, and she knew I was married, and but I turned to her and said, "Can I wear these at night?" And she said, "No, they're not comfortable, and you shouldn't. You should, not wear them at night." And I said, "But what if I'm dating someone and it's our first night together, and I think tonight is going to be the night that he says he loves me. Can I wear them that night?" And she looked at me, total seriousness, and said, "Yes, that night you can wear them." I thought, what am I making up the story, and why is she going along with it? But I always think about that. Oh yes, honey, that night you can wear them. So my husband now, tells me he loves me before bed, if I'm so lucky. Okay, Lesley, your turn.
All right. So we actually, firstly, you're hilarious and you're emotional and you're touching at the same time, which is, I guess, what attracts so many people and audiences to you. On that note, we actually have our friend who is a public training speaker or public speaker trainer, Linda Lovich, in the audience, and she has a question for you. She'd love to know what your advice would be from a world of comedy to those who fear public speaking. You think it's one way of like, well, you just like take the fear out, get funny?
Yes, I think if you're afraid, first of all, if you're afraid to speak in public, take a public speaking class, go to Toastmasters. And if you think
Or
you're
go
funny,
to Linda.
or go to Linda. Well, that's what I meant by the class. Exactly. Go to Linda. You know, if you don't have access to Linda, maybe Linda, you know, works with people on Zoom. I imagine she does. But you know, fight it. Life is short, and you know, it's great to speak. Listen to me. It is great to speak. So just do it. And if you think you're funny, take a comedy class and work on the funny aspect and do that. Or if you're a singer, you know, just open your mouth. I think that's the thing. I guess I want to say something.
Actually, I'm sure our friend Toby in the audience, who's theatre and culture and performances, I'm sure that she no doubt, you can write that in the chat, Toby, if so, not to unmute, that she's also come across many people who have this fear, and acting and singing, I'm sure also is one way of getting over your fear of public speaking or just being in the public.
Yeah. You know, I guess I would say keep trying. If the Toastmasters class doesn't work, you know, yes, or a Dale Carnegie course, or, you know, just keep at it. If it's something you want, keep at it. And I would say, yes, lots of people have stage fright. They say it's the biggest fear that exists, but how wonderful to get your message out, whatever your message is, you know. And sometimes you are called upon to say it in front of 8 people or 12 people, and you know, or to somebody's wedding, and how sad if you feel I'd like to say something but I can't. So I'd say, so push it. I want to say about fears for a minute. I used to find, especially here in Israel, that I was saying I was afraid to myself all the time. I'm in overdraft, I have to call the bank, and I would say to myself, but I'm afraid, and I need to, you know, do something. And I was just saying constantly to myself, I'm afraid. And I then said, that's it. I don't want to say I'm afraid anymore. I don't want those words to come out of my mouth. So I decided right then and there, truly, that if I said the words, I'm afraid of doing X, I would do that thing right away. And so, you know, if it was, I'm afraid to call the bank, I'd say, oh, damn, I have to call the bank. And, you know, and I would just, you know, I don't know that you want to take that on, but, you know, can I say screw fear? Screw fear. Life is too short. I still have fears. Believe me, believe yourself, believe everybody, go ahead. But really, you know, of course we all have fears, but, you know, I kept thinking, I don't want my kids to hear me say this. I don't want my kids to see me be afraid of so many things. And it's much better. Not perfect, but better. Now, I did say that anything I need to get special insurance for, like bungee jumping or flying out of a plane, jumping out, that doesn't count. I'm allowed to still be afraid of those things. That's fine.
Right, absolutely. You know, one of the things we say also in coaching and in whether it's business or life coaching, or also just for ourselves, for motivation and inspiration, if we weren't afraid, like what would we do? What is this one thing that we would want to do and that we could push ourselves if we weren't afraid? And that's something that we can all ask ourselves. And if it's really something that's important to us, to go and do it. Just to go and do it. It's not so simple, but to take the first steps, or what are the first steps to even identify it, that we can actually just start and do it. And then often the fear just dissipates, as I'm sure you know, and you've seen.
Yeah.
Right. Moving forward, we're coming to the end of our entertaining and inspiring 30 minutes with you. We have another, say, 2 minutes. Moving forward, Hani, where do you see yourself in the future? Where do you see, you know, your family? You know, it's also rare. You say you started off in Rehovot and you're still in Rehovot. Many people move cities. It's wonderful that you found the city that you love and live in now that you started off in.
Yeah, no, Rehovot's the best. It really is the best. And Israel has so many great places. Sometimes I'll be in a city and I'll say, why don't I live here, or a town, or a moshav? But Rehovot, I don't say it, I don't say it out loud, and I don't say I'm afraid to live there, because that would be bad. Where do I see myself? And my family is poo. My family here, I have 4 kids here, 2 of whom are married. No grandchildren yet, because I am way too young. But I do have cats, and probably grandcats, the way they are in the neighborhood. But I see myself happy, successful, hopefully more and more successful as a comedian. I also am a writer, so I do that. But just spending my days with joy. I wrote a mantra. I can't say it to you, but it's very personal. But I feel like, I love having God in my life. I love living in Israel. And, in a couple of years, I may have a trophy husband by then. I don't know. Maybe I'll be thinner. That would be always a plus. I'm not afraid of being thin. I just would like to be. But yeah, I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty satisfied, and life is good.
Right. I think it's important that a comedian is happy, or a stand-up artist is happy, because if you're not happy, I mean, that's another question. I'm sure there are many that aren't, but somehow still manage to be successful.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So your parting message to us, Hani, before we take your spotlight off. And your spotlight will always be there, even if now I'm going to take it off.
Thank you.
Your parting message, one sentence that you'd like us to take away?
Yeah, just do it. Life is short, and do it, whether it's purple, whether it's comedy, whether it's facing your fears. Just do it. And if you're thinking you want to try comedy, or you want to know more about it, call me.
Right. Okay. Fabulous. Well, actually, I don't know if I told you this, or if you've seen my logo colors. I could have added you next to my logo, right? I could have added you next to my logo, because for all of you who know my logo is like a turquoise blue and purple. So your hair color actually represents my logo. So thank you very much for doing that.
You're
If you
welcome.
didn't know, you may not have known that. Right.
This is
Okay.
super fun. Thank you.
Great. All right. So, Hani, firstly, we've come to another end of a Monday Motivation Spotlight. You've definitely been an inspiring and entertaining guest. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to those who joined live. Thank you to those who are going to listen to the recording. And there are many. The hours that we have the show, which is live, don't always gel well with the US hours, depending where you are. So many of our US and Canadian friends do view us on YouTube and Spotify. If you're not yet connected to my channel, or you haven't yet subscribed or followed, please do so, because we've had other awesome guests over the last almost 2 years. We're on episode, I think this is episode 76 or 77. So, we've had a lot of them and a lot of inspiring guests. So please do go over and just type in Monday Motivation Spotlight and subscribe. Like Hani's video. Hani, thank you so much for being with us, for being so inspiring. We wish you much hatzlacha. We wish our dear Am Yisrael much hatzlacha, and that we should move forward and only have peaceful, quiet days. Our hostages, our soldiers, and just everyone here, we should have quiet evenings and quiet daytimes. And thank you again, just to part off with that, to our sponsors, Nardis Advisors, and to Eggert & Cohen Insurance. I'm Lesley Kaplan. I wish you a lovely day, a safe day, and we look forward to seeing you next week on the Monday Motivation Spotlight. Bye-bye.